Hello all, and welcome back to Shatter Our Souls with No Bar. And today we are tackling the Leaf Cup, as promised, at 150 cc's. Now, I've had a lot of individuals recently comment on this series and mention that it's going to get really frustrating. That the difficulty of this run is simply, shall we say, chaos. And I want to kind of clear up the air on that, because in many ways, shapes, and forms, they're right. This type of a challenge run is one that doesn't always have the most consistent difficulty. There are some runs that you attempt it and they're cursed right from the start, where you'll try as you might, you're going to end up in last place, and you're just going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to understand or reset 3-4 times over, because that's just your luck. And there are going to be other times where you're going to get halfway through your run, get 5th place, and think, I'm only 2-3 points behind, and you kind of just got to go on your gamble. Now, Mario Kart Wii as a general statement, as a game in general, does a lot of that. The difficulty of the game is not just the tracks and courses, it's your personal knowledge, your personal understanding of the AI. How likely is it that the game is going to roll the dice the wrong way and give you 7 blue shells? This is technically all well within the realm of what Mario Kart Wii is going to throw at you. And so, for me, I get to say that this is both a harder and easier run than I think a lot of people expect. Because, as I say, some runs are cursed. Some runs are just, you're never gonna get it, because that's how the game has decided. There are other times where the game is gonna throw you a bone and you're gonna win despite everything going completely wrong. And so, to me, this is the type of run that solidifies just why challenge runs need to exist in the first place. See, for a lot of individuals, myself included, there's this ongoing kind of a question of what it is that actually is or isn't possible in games. Can you make that shortcut? Can you do this? Can you do that? What are the limitations? How far can you push it? And while I am not the type to be a speedrunner, despite how much I talk about it, I can't help but be envious and appreciate the community, especially now, knowing that what they're attempting, what they're aiming for, is precision. It's pushing the game just that little bit harder, that little bit faster. What is the strategy? What is the goal? What will make this run just that little bit more precise? That little bit more likely to happen the way you plan? And that's the glory of this type of game, this type of challenge, is I'm going into it assuming that Itemless is possible, but kind of silly. Oh, I'm sorry, Luigi, I didn't mean to drop you in the lava there. I'm going in assuming that it's possible, but not easy. And there are other individuals that will look at this challenge and say, I couldn't do that. Reality is that in a single sitting, I couldn't. There have been many times where I've questioned, back when I did the double dash run, whether or not it was going to be possible. I figured that with 4 races, margin for error was high, but at the same time, margin for error was only one part of the equation. What really scared me was the game's penultimate challenge, the biggest, beefiest thing it could throw at me, in the form of the All-Cup Tour. 16 races where, yeah, your average is going to matter a lot more than your one-offs. And that's kind of important in general for me, is what is and isn't possible under the strict guidelines that are set. Mario Kart Wii has it set at such a bar where I had initially anticipated it wasn't going to be possible, partially due to just CPU aggression. That AI that I've constantly talked about, the rubber banding, the very constant threat of being hit by blue shell. And at my 50cc Special Cup, I believe I got hit by 5 to 7 blue shells in the first race. This is something that was incredibly consistent. And so, knowing that, knowing what kind of will come my way, I went in under expectations that possible it may be, difficult it shall be. And so, that's kind of where this all came to a head. That's why this all started in the first place. Now, we are officially 2 races down in the 150 Leaf Cup, and starting the DK's, what is it? I'm forgetting the track name already. That's horrible. But be that as it may, this track is one that haunts me in this game. And this is one that I mention, or I'm going to bring up very specifically, because there are some tracks that work out really well for me in this run, and there are some that just demolish me. And this one in particular kicks me every single time. See, under ordinary circumstances, this track is relatively simplistic. Pretty decent curves, some blind turns, but not terrible. You have a couple moments like the bridge where the CPUs and other players are going to drop items galore just because they can. But by and large, the game kind of treats this as a simplistic track. Reality is that a simple track is one that is going to be easier to beat than others. But I mentioned in the past that the more twisty, the more curved the track is, the more that you can rely on human reflexes and just overall smart usage of the track, making sure you take good racing lines and whatnot, greatly affects your likelihood of success. So, as ironic as it sounds, the more simplistic the track is, the harder it is to get a good time as a direct result of, well, the CPUs are going to do a better job on it overall. We also just acknowledge that I'm in 9th, sorry, and I'm at midpoint of lap 2, meaning I've got to catch up to the front without using any items. It's kind of an ongoing problem with some of these tracks, because the simplistic ones are the ones that are going to beat you up. They're going to knock you down a peg or two and tell you, okay, now let's see if you can catch up. And it's part of the charm, it's part of the drive, it's part of the reason I jumped in to try this to begin with. I don't want to make it sound like it's a bad thing. It is part of why this channel was started. It's part of why I started making content to begin with. It's simply because I want to test something. I want to see where my exploration takes me. And if that ends up being, somewhat mundane, sure, absolutely, that can happen. But for my own sake, I have to do it. I can't necessarily rely on anyone else's word for this. Anywho, latter half of lap 3, Luigi came in first. Now, we're kind of in a little bit of a rough situation. Now, at the beginning here I mentioned I came in 5th and I was 2 points behind the player in front of me, what would happen? Well, here we are. Last race, Mario Circuit from the GameCube, and starting in 5th place. This is one of those circumstances where I wish I had a better grasp of what I was expecting. What is the goal? What is going to happen? And reality is, I know my goal is to get first. But I don't necessarily know how hard it is going to be to get caught up. I know I have to beat Luigi, but that's about all I have as far as guidelines for this particular track. And so, in that regard, if I happen to beat Luigi by 1 to 2 positions, I'm fine. If I get first place, I'm golden, because first and second place have a separation of 3 points. I believe third place gets 10 points, which would mean that it would be a 2-point difference. As long as I came in second with Luigi in third, I would win. But if I came in third with Luigi in fourth, I believe that I would lose. So take that with a grain of salt as well. That there is a lot of... There's some up in the air circumstances about how statistically will it work. Alright, 7th place. This is looking fantastic. And Toad is terrifying me on the road. Nope, that's not Toad, that's Baby Mario. I think. Yeah, for me, that's the drive. That's why I do it. And every single track, every single cup, every single individual challenge is going to have its own barriers and hurdles. What confuses or befuddles me now might be very far from the major challenge that comes down the line. Okay, so we are ahead of Luigi. That is great news. Boo just snuck ahead and came in second place. How did... I could have swore I just saw Luigi in, like, 4th place. How did he end up in last? Anywho, with all of that in mind, that's one more cup down. Join us next week on Wednesday as we continue this into the Lightning Cup. For now, that's all I have for you. Until next time, I hope you all have a good one. And if you don't mind smashing that like and subscribe button, that would greatly help the channel. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I hope you all have a great one.